We are gonna talk about smartphone today, and as we know, smartphone connects people together, and especially for the social media incorporated in each smartphone. Thanks to the smartphone, we are never alone. So as for a company that provides connection, it is meant to be integrated instead of separated. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We are the team from Fudan University, and kindly allow me to introduce our team members. This is Wang Xiao, this is Wang Yuan, and this is Wang Er. So before we get started, let's first take a look at today's agenda. So we segment this presentation into 4 layers. And the first layer is the situation analysis of Samsung. We'll give you an overview of the Samsung company. And then, with a clear situation in mind, we will move on to our recommendation part. And my teammates will introduce you our integrate strategy. And this is the key point we would like to deliver in this presentation today. And actually, our integrate strategy has 2 implications. The first implication is integrating products, and the second is integrate channels. And then we'll move on to the financial analysis part. And finally, our team will give you a summary of this case. And hopefully, at the end of the presentation, you will have more confidence in Samsung's business in the future. Okay, now let's move on to the situation analysis part. As we know, Samsung is a very successful business. According to the current data, it is the #1 IT company in the world in terms of the revenue. In addition, it has beaten Apple and Sony and has become the #1 player in the smart vendor market with the highest market share. Samsung's product line includes smartphone, semiconductor, display, and its core product is a smartphone. So what exactly are the core competences of Samsung? We believe that there's at least 3 core competences. And the first core competence is that Samsung has a very deep understanding of its customer. It is very strong at marketing analysis, and it can design the product that matches customers' needs. In addition, its R&D capacity is also its highlight. Samsung can manufacture the right product that can perfectly match customer needs incorporated with high technology. And thirdly, Samsung has a wide product range, ranging from smartphone, semiconductor, and house appliance. And we believe we can integrate this wide product range and to achieve its core competence. So despite the core competence, Samsung is still facing a few challenges. And what exactly are the challenges? The first challenge is that in this ever-changing smartphone vendor industry, more and more players will be coming in this industry, and the existing players are revising themselves every day. So how could Samsung sustain its leadership position and achieve growth after the peak of its success in the smartphone vendor market? And thirdly, we think that according to the case material, the labor cost and the raw material cost is rising. So how could Samsung guarantee a higher profit margin in the future? It's also a question mark. So we will proudly present our integrate strategy. As we have mentioned, the integrate strategy has 2 dimensions. The first dimension is integrating products. So we think that less is more. Less low-end products means higher profit margin, which can achieve our high margin goal. We will spin off some low-end products and focus on the high-end products, which means that we will integrate our product line. And the second is we will introduce an upgraded smartphone, which can integrate our current product line. For example, our upgraded smartphone can remotely control the home appliance. So no matter where you are, you can control the air conditioner in your home. So by this upgraded smartphone, we create a smart family for Samsung user. And next dimension is the channel integrate dimension. We will integrate more channels, such as specialized stores and online channels. We believe that in the Chinese market, the online channel is a key trend and it's a key opportunity to us, and we will grab the key opportunity in our hand. So with our integrate strategy, what can we achieve? We can achieve a higher margin in the future, and in addition, we can achieve a sustainable growth after the peak of success for Samsung. So with that, I will pass the stage to my teammate to go deeper in our recommendation part. Thank you.
Okay, so thanks my teammate Xiaolu for giving you an introduction and briefly give you an overview of our strategy. And now I will give you more insights regarding the integrated strategy, to be more specifically the product dimension. So the key message here is that we really recommend Samsung to spin off some of its unattractive unattractive products and to integrate high-end products to deliver a smart family concept. Okay, and I will give you this analysis step by step. So step 1, that is where we do the subtraction with the last part of our strategy. So here we recommend Samsung to spin off some of its unprofitable or unattractive products. And the reason is that we should understand the long-term success of any business really come from your core competence, your core products. And especially in this electronic goods, in this competitive arena, it is really innovation drives value, innovation drives you forward. And last but not least, to be more specifically, there are more and more fierce competition coming from this low-cost entrance to this new market. And it is really not so sensible for Samsung to try to lower itself to compete with these low-end competitors. And this is the reasons. And how about the results? These are also the actions that we recommend Samsung to take. Well, first, we think it should spin off some of its low-end products. For example, these low-end cell phones, especially the traditional ones. We think this is really dragging behind the company's step. And second, we think to be more precisely, we think the lower margin products should not be the company's top priority if we do not spin that off, because the company should really not be spending too much budget and financial resources on these lower margin products like the semiconductor. And this is the step 1 of our strategy. Next, please. And next step is where the magic really happens and how all this takes place. So in this step, I really want the dear judges and the audience to think and to imagine with me. So while scenario 1, you lie on your bed and you're listening to a music, and suddenly you want to switch on your television, and somehow you also want to control the temperature of your refrigerator, but you actually don't want to move a bit. And how could you do? And scenario 2, on the way home, and you're driving, and you want to turn on the air conditioner a bit earlier in advance, and somehow you want to upload or download some photos from your cameras. And what can you do? Well, with our strategy in mind, we think we can provide you with a very smart family solution to this problem. So the key highlights of our idea, like I said, is the smart family concept. So where the remote control of your household appliances, these Samsung products are connected and together to create a seamless solution to your daily routines, to these boring tasks. And with this, we are really providing a real-time and instant access to your every little bits of your life. We are connecting the dots together. And so with this, we are really like to add more value to our customers, because we are delivering more seamless package instead of scattered around products. And this step is where our magic happens. And the final piece is the step 3, where we think the less is more. So what is more? For customers, more values, like I said, customers are not gaining products scattered around. They are gaining actually products plus intangible services, because we are delivering a solution, a seamless platform for them to manage their life better. And second is innovation. Well, at the end of your day, you really think if there is some funny parts about your life, life will look more happier, and you really sometimes will get this kind of impulse. And last but not least, there's convenience. Well, if you can manage all your this routine tasks just with a Galaxy on your hand, just a click, and you can get everything you want done. Life is really much more easier. And what is more for us, for Samsung? Well, first, revenue is up and margin is up. Well, because we can maintain our pricing in the future if we implement this strategy, and we can cross-sell our products to increase the quantity as well. So both the price and the quantity can be maintained. So our revenue will be higher, and the top line of our income statement is higher, so our margin will be higher. And second, there are synergies. If we create this whole package, we can achieve both cost synergies as well as revenue synergies, so that we can really improve our current operation. And last but not least, we can create barriers for future entrants into this competitive arena, and this will really be our competitive edge in the very long term. So this is a part about the product dimension of our integrated strategy, and let me welcome my teammate Wang Yuan to introduce you the other part, the channel part.
Okay, so thank you, Wang. So all I will know, in the consumer electronics market, the core issue is still the product. However, it is also very important for Samsung to make some efforts on the channel side to really optimize its performance. So, especially for the smartphone side, let's see the current situation of of Samsung's distribution channel of smartphone. Now, Samsung mainly rely on two parts, two color partners. One is local distributors, and like in China, the retailing titans are like Suning or Gourmet. And second part is telecom operators. So these two channels are really very traditional and very important for smartphone channels. But for smartphones, but if Samsung rely on these two channels too much, there will be problems. First, the margin will be limited, since the strong distributors and operators with strong bargaining power will require more commission for them. And secondly, since these channels are all about aggregators, so when selling with the product from competitors, Samsung product will not be highlighted. And in this way, its brand image, although Samsung has got very strong brand image, but its brand image will not be further leveraged in this way. And thirdly, if Samsung depends on this kind of aggregator too much, and its product has no chance to be highlighted, so the brand image, the strength of brand image won't grow, and the bargaining power will also always be limited. Of course, these two channels will be, as I mentioned before, these two channels will still be important in this industry. However, Samsung should also integrate in more innovative channels, and to leverage its brand image and leverage its bargaining power to traditional channels. And the two channels we plan to introduce in is our online channel and specialized stores. Online retailing means e-commerce, and specialized stores is mainly focused on experience stores, like what Apple is doing right now. And the reason why we introduced these two channels can attribute into four reasons, four pieces. First, like now in short term, we doesn't plan to dig too deep into the two channels, like what I draw on the diagram, like not a strong portion. But the arrow means that in long term we may increase our percentage on these two channels. That means within the two channels, well, the first advantage we could take is like we may take advantage of consumer behavior trends. Like firstly, right now consumer all around the world, they are more and more tend to prefer e-commerce channels, online channels. And secondly, consumers are now more and more concentrated on the experience of their shopping. They want to have better experience of product, and these innovative channels could fit these two needs. And secondly, like since with online retailing channels, we could spend less, and with specialized channels through our direct selling, we can also earn higher margins. So higher margin and reduced SG&A costs will be created in this way. And thirdly, since through customized websites or specialized stores, we could let the customer have a better feeling, a better perception of our product. So so they will know how good exactly of our product, and they will be more. They will be more. And in this way, our brand image could be strengthened and could be strengthened, and we will be and being more and more outstanding and unique among the perception of the customers. And what the more important is, like, since in this way we could lift up our brand image, so our bargaining power to local channels, to the traditional channels, actually the local distributors or telecom operator will also be enhanced. It's like what Apple is. It's like although like most of the mobile phone vendors, they are dependent on traditional channels, but the really outstanding brand like Apple, it's like they are more dominant in their relationship between the traditional distributors. So as an equally outstanding company, this is also something should achieve. So this is our strategy recommendation on channel side. So my teammate will continue the following parts.
Okay, thank you, Wang Yan. So let me, based on our my teammates' analysis on the strategy part, I'll come to the kind of more quantitative part of the financial analysis, and we mainly focus on these 4 items in their financial report. The first about the revenue. We think the revenue might be the future growth of the profit margin, because we really propose Samsung to come out with new innovative products that are more enhanced and integrated together, so that can drive the future growth of Samsung company. And secondly, with this integrated smartphone, we can use this smartphone to cross-sell with our existing household appliance. For example, if you buy this smartphone, you can use this smartphone to control your household appliances. So maybe a customer has already have a Samsung TV, maybe he can use this smartphone to control the TV. So that's a kind of cross-selling and drive future growth. And in the third way, we can use it as a bundle package. Because there's a new movers or there's a newly married couples they might want to like buy a whole set of household appliances, and we can offer them an enhanced and integrated package to them. So that thirdly drives our future growth. So that's the revenue part. And related to the cost of goods sold part, our core philosophy is less is more, because we kind of spin off our low margin and low end products, so that may possibly save some of our future cost of goods sold. And as to the SG&A part, we think that those integrated channels, for example, those online channels, might possibly help us to save some kind of expenses in this, because according to my personal experience, many of my friends buy their Samsung phones through the online channel. If Samsung through the phones through online, maybe some large cost may be saved, and they can really grab a higher profit margin from this channel. And also, we think that Samsung should sustain its strong investments in marketing and investment. So we don't suggest any savings in this part. So we think that SG&A in the future may be slightly decreased, maybe in the future 3 years. And finally, to the R&D part, we think our R&D part is really a focus, because we are suggesting the company to invest highly into the newly innovative and integrated products. So R&D may be a huge investment. But we think that the R&D cost maybe rise more like moderately rather than drastically, because we are suggesting the company to apply a same technology to as many products as possible, like the remote control technology, but not like different technologies for different products. So we think the R&D cost can be optimized, because we are using one technology and to many products. So with those analysis, we think
in the future that the trend maybe look like make it to more virtually, because we don't have a concrete number about the company's financial report and the cakes, so we don't do all of those calculations though we really want to do, so we just show it as a trend. So as the result has pointed out, the profit margin will go up and the profit margin is mainly driven by those revenue growth. Okay, so finally, let me wrap up our team's presentation. So to make it more simple and to visualize our, I
guess I've got one sort of slight uncertainty about the strategy. I thought it was quite interesting actually, the idea of linking your phone to your all your household products, but it seems that I need to have all of my household products Samsung branded in order for that to work. So query how useful that would be in the first instance. If I have to then sort of commit to buying other stuff which may or may not be especially good, or the actual product that I want to buy. Is the Samsung TV the best on the market? No, maybe a Sony one is, but I can't use my smartphone to change the channels. Oh, that's a bit annoying. Also, you're going to get rid of your less profitable businesses. You mentioned semiconductors as one. You didn't actually tell me how you're going to source your semiconductors after that. They're presumably a very important part of the sort of the putting together of your smartphone. So there was a little bit of a gap there. You know, you don't want to sort of jettison an important part of your sort of assembly sort of part of the business. Also, I wonder whether some of your household good items might not be particularly high margin products, and if you're selling all of your household goods, then that defeats the purpose of your smartphone and all these apps or whatever to organise your household. But those were my main sort of criticisms. The only other point I thought was there was a bit of an emphasis on we're going to increase the top line, therefore the bottom line is going to go up, which doesn't always one doesn't always follow the other. So particularly, for example, with the semiconductors, you know, if you're going to have to pay a fortune for a third party to supply the semiconductors, then yes, your turnover might go up, but actually the cost of making these products will go up at the same time. But otherwise, I thought slides very clear, presentation extremely good, very competent, everybody. I'd have liked the introduction to have happened at the beginning for everyone, and I think you actually forgot to introduce yourself, and the second person introduced you sort of retrospectively, but otherwise extremely competent, I thought.
Thank you.
Questions, Mr. Parker?
Well, maybe fill in the gap about how we're going to get our semiconductors and the low margin household items.
And actually, I want to ask, thank you for a question. It's really thank you for a question and comments, right? It's really very useful for us. And actually, for questions like we mean that we are spinning off unprofitable product, not production line. That we mean that we will maintain all the production line currently, but we will focus on high-end ones rather than the low-end ones. For example, like we know Samsung has both functional cell phone or smartphone, or even high-end smartphone. That means it doesn't mean that we will abandon the whole production line. It means that we will abandon the functional phones, low margin phones, because we have to consider one important issue is like new entrants. Like we know that some low-cost new entrants are entering, new low-cost vendor enter this market. But for them, we should see that although they will build up some threats, but this kind of threat is only limited in low-end markets. Like they don't have the barrier lies in the high-end market rather than low-end barrier market. It means that if you unless you have a disruptive innovation, otherwise you will only stay in the low-end market. So, but for Samsung, it's not wise to compete with them in the low-end market because it will be too annoying, as I once said. So that means and Samsung has already built up a brand image that our high-end our high-end product is very famous, very outstanding. So that's why we don't suggest to cut off the production lines. So that is also why we come up with the smart family. Since if we made the Samsung home appliance, although easily to be integrated, they will also be more high-end, more technical. So in this way, although in home appliance is also an industry with lower margin, not like smartphone, but we could also survive and achieve a higher margin with a high-end product. And actually, to answer your question on semiconductor, we think about it, but we don't actually, right now, we don't know the key factor, the key driver in this industry. We don't know whether it is the quality or the cost, because it might also be homogeneous. And we know that, and on the other hand, our semiconductor also have our competitor like Apple as our client. So this is also a way we control them. So actually, I think maybe you misunderstood our size a little bit, but we didn't suggest to abandon the semiconductor service, definitely. Like it said, right now we are not sure about the key driver, but it's like if the key driver here is really the cost, like it is also a cost efficiency industry. Maybe we could consider the opportunity if it is the same, if we take the outsourced chips for our devices. So, but if technology and quality is very important, we will suggest that we maintain this business, and maybe we will raise the price for Apple, or since we provide qualified chips, so they depend on us. And if we raise the price, we could get high margin and let Apple get lower margin. So for the semiconductor sector, we are not abandoning them, but it depends.
So Alex, riding on your point about spinning off from high-end, from low-end products to high-end products, one of the key questions is one of Samsung's key aspiration is to win the market in China. Okay, you understand the China market really well, right?
Yeah.
So what is the number of consumers who can really enjoy the high-end technology that you just mentioned?
Okay,
and secondly, if you spin off from low end to high end, you focus completely on high-end products, while the whole entire global market of consumer goods actually now focusing back into the mass market, because this is where the money is coming from, because they can consume, of course with low margin, but the quantity is going to be large. So I think Samsung has the right to win in this space. I want to see your view why you want to give up low-end products, and ultimately will lead to your failure in China.
Okay, so to answer your first question about how to grab those consumption volume in China, I'd like to make 2 points. The first one is we believe that the main consumption driver in China is the middle class people. And those middle class people, they are not only rising in numbers, but also in their consumption capabilities and their willingness to pay. And currently the trend in those focus group, i.e. those middle class people, are they're more and more into this IT intensive products and innovative products, and they are willing to pay more for IT innovative products. So we think that to really grab the China market, Samsung has to grab these kind of people. That is the middle class people that has the consumption capability and their interest in the IT products. And secondly, to how to grab China market, I think it's just through our online channel, because you know that the sales volume for Taobao in one day is kind of like a crazy number, and we think that to selling Samsung through online channel and to align strategically with those online companies, online channels, we can really grab more people in China and alluring them to buy Samsung products. And maybe my teammates want to answer the second question.
To add on one point, let's imagine Apple. It doesn't have any low-end product. It only has high-end product, but it achieves great success in China. It proves that the middle class in China has a great demand for the high-end product of Samsung.
And actually, I want to make a conclusion, maybe, because I think this is really a very important question. Firstly, we come from China. We come from first tier, second tier, third tier, fourth tier city. And we all know that in our hometown, how high-end electronic products are welcomed. That means Chinese people are willing to pay for high-end products. So that, and according to case material, like the case material refers to low-end cell phone only occupy 30% of market share in China. And since China's consumption power is going up, so the market share of low-end cell phone will be even lower. So that's also why we suggest on focus on high-end product. And second, we know in electronic market, like the technique is updating very fast. So today's high-end product will be low and middle end in the future. So the most important thing that we should stand on the frontier rather than what kind of market we're focusing. We should stand on the frontier technically and technically and actually in the whole market. So it's very important to be innovative and creative and fashionable.
Okay, thank you for your answer, and I think we need to respect the total population of China, and also do you have the data about the potential rising middle class?
Well, actually, we may not have a very exact number in our mind, but we do think that the middle class is the most dense popularity, and it is growing at a very large number. And this means that on one hand, the whole population, the size is expanding, and secondly, their disposable income is increasing, and the way actually Apple is helping us in educating this class. Apple told them that you should have elegant lifestyle, you need innovation, you need creativity, and thanks Apple for educating this middle class for us, and we can actually like stepping on the shoulder of Apple and market our products too.
So,
thank you for your answer, and I think you've done a really well presentation, and the flow was good, and I admire your courage, to give me all these answers, because you need to go back and check, the actual rising wealth of China. In fact, it's a small percentage of the total population. So the reason why most of the business or global business want to do business with China is actually on the other end of the market. The high-end market is important, but it's actually growing quite slowly. And this is according to some of the statistics we actually gathered. So it's important to focus on higher end, but you may actually have some limitation, and also innovation has a limit. You can see consumer goods, especially TV, phones, are now hitting the peak of innovation. You can't go anywhere. And what you just spoke about, smart family, it's been there for years. It's not something really innovative. So I think James made a good point, because not a lot of families can make use of it, because you actually have different brands operating in-house. So unless otherwise you change everything to Samsung, otherwise you can't make use of the benefit of that. So that's all my comment. Thank you.
Yeah, well, firstly, it was a very nice presentation. Just supplementing to the point that Steve and James mentioned, and if I look at the recommendations that came out, the recommendations were touching upon two core areas. One was the product portfolio, which is what is the portfolio of products that you need to focus on in the channels part. What would have been very interesting to see would have been your thoughts around about other dimensions of the business, for example, the strategic alliances, suppliers, and internal mechanics, because as you see, unlike most of the other businesses that have been listed here, Samsung is a conglomerate, which basically means they have very distinct business units. So how do you put them together under the same organization and then try and manage them on a growth path? That's another area which would have been very interesting if that had come out as well. Because typically as a conglomerate, and that probably explains, if you see some of the data points in the case, around the higher sales and general administration expenses, the SG&A, why is it high for Samsung compared to most of the other organizations that they're competing with, for example, Apple. R&D was a good point that you raised, and again, going back to what James said about, there is a certain limitation with the strategy of bringing in the family concept because it limits. And Apple faces the same thing because it does have, and that's why they have to invest so much in iTunes and the online store to create a complete bouquet of end-to-end services. So yeah, and the only other question which I had was, which was very interesting for me to observe, was when you do a spin-off, you can get better margins, but that will never give you higher turnover because you are losing revenue streams. So it cannot be, one has to be at the cost of other if you do a spin-off. So if you lose, let's say, 10% of your top line, you will have better operating margins. But because you spun off products, you lost them. They will take away your top line. So you will shrink your top line, but it will be more profitable. That's generally the rule you have to follow. So that was one dissonance I found in the presentation. Conceptually, if you spin off, you cannot have higher revenues. You will be more profitable.
Actually, through the spinning process, we are not getting high margin or higher growth. Because actually, what the suggestion why we focus on high-end product is also because they have the best growth compared to other product lines, product categories. So that means we are spending on low-end products, not only because they have lower margin, but also the market growth is also low. But then we focus on when we're focusing on the high-end products, then we are also selling more. We are also going to sell more and more of them. And with the whole market growth, so if we achieve the growth, the growth will compensate the current cut down turnover. And in long term, even mid-term, so the effect of this strategy, we think could be reviewed.
And I want to add one point about the spin-off result on revenue. Actually, our team think that after we get money from the spin-off, we can better utilize the money, like investing more on marketing or investing more on R&D. So we think that the resources that in the not well-performed business or the low margin business is not well utilized, and we want to use it in a more efficient way. That's why we choose the spin-off, and we want to expand the high-end market.
And just to follow up on that point, then, if you open up new channels, how do you suggest the SGAs to go down in the immediate future? Because if you're adding channels, you basically go in an investment mode, which basically means your selling costs have to go up. And the only way you can drive a business thereafter is by adding to the top line. So you basically go into an invest mode for 2 or 3 years, build more channels, and then you capitalize on the growth by adding to the turnover. So, I mean, that logical sequencing was, to me, a bit of an area you could have probably added to in bringing out that flavor around, look, here's an investment opportunity. Because I think the key issue, if you look at it, what Samsung is facing is firstly the fact that it's got a multiple product portfolio which are distinct to each other. In spite of that, and that adds to the SGA bottom line, or takes away from the bottom line because of high SGA, right? And therefore, it's been growing fast, but now how do you focus it? So the idea of kind of spinning off the low margin products is good, but at the same time, it has to come with the cognizance that you'll be taking away the top line. Then you'll get into an investment mode, which makes sense because if you look at their financials over the last 3 years, they've been quite profitable coming out of the downturn. Probably one of the most profitable companies to come out of the downturn, even though the consumer electronic industry has been facing negative growth. So I think the line that you're headed is good. The justifications and some of the points, connections, in my view, could have been elaborated a bit more in a better structured fashion. I think the points you're bringing out are good, but I think somewhere the analysis, if you had to, probably just a question of timing and arriving at the conclusion, but it's just a presentation of how you arrive at the conclusions.
Actually, I understand your concern. Like, here I want to introduce our basic logic. Like, we focus on both short-term and long-term goals. And in short-term, we focus on ratios, like margin or growth. The total amount is the issue. We focus on the long-term. So actually, for the SG&A cost on this side, like we know that maybe we need some initial investment in this side. But in long-term, first, we think that the SG&A costs mainly come from the commission from the local distributors. But if we could leverage through these self-built channels, we could leverage our brand image and cut down, reduce our dependence on them. So the commission cost would be lower. So in long term, the SG&A cost will also be reduced. So that is our logic.
I support this point, and I think after rounds or restructuring your sales channel, at the end of the day, you can achieve the cost efficiency, and then you will eventually move more into the online channel and the other distribution channel instead of the conventional ones, which is a good idea.
Thank you, teams from
Thank
Fudan University.
Thank you.